agenda items.
Wow, I skipped right over that to the next one.
All right, it's 4:30, so we have our workshop for the Lodging Facility Advisory Committee. So if somebody wants to come right up here and we kicked off with that and get an update.
I don't know if Jodine's coming up too.
Yeah, she was, she went to grab something. She can hop right up in here.
Finders from the room.
There she is.
So I think, has everything been submitted to you today? So that we can do the, public hearing next week or 2 weeks?
Mike?
What's that?
Are they getting all the applications today?
Do you have applications this week for them or no?
There's 4 applications to review tomorrow, is that what you're
Okay,
asking?
yeah.
4 or 5?
No,
No,
but
no.
they're gonna, they have
ones
to
we're
post a
gonna
public
present
hearing
after
at the
this.
meeting today,
Yes, there
right?
are
Yeah,
applications.
yeah, so there is an agenda item on there.
So
Okay.
basically, we wanted to meet with you to explain the process that we went through. So that we're trying not to blindside anybody during the public hearing. So you saw the applications back in January. It's a much longer
Yes.
application than the 4 questions they always used to have. And so now they're new or renewal. And then before the lodging committee looks at them, police, fire, and code and planning all comment on them. So there's like a comment sheet at the end of them, and they've been putting comments on there. And then it comes to the lodging committee at that point. And we're just a review committee, so we're recommending approval or recommending denial or recommending to hold. One of the things we did find is the application is very confusing. So some of our holds are really just people misstating information. Cause some of the questions are, if you answer yes to one, you have to answer the next one. But then people answering no to the first one, but then still answering the second one, and so we don't know which one's the right answer. So some of our holds are as simple as that, it's just a phone call that has to be made. And then some of the denials, correct me if I'm wrong, but our denials are based on life safety. So if the life safety codes are not being met, our recommendation was denial.
And are you doing that now? Are you, with the applications that are coming forward, the ones that were there, okay, so you're, okay.
How many?
Because we have quite
I
a few.
think there was
too.
only 2 that we were recommending that they deny, and one was just a pile of life safety, and another one, their bylaws was a direct violation of the ordinance for a lodging facility, so. And there again, it's just a recommendation, our recommendation was to deny, and like Katie said, most of the holds are just for some more information, and once we get that information, they're gonna, be put before you with a recommendation to approve.
So the list that's before us tonight
Yeah, I know.
is something that the committee has already taken a look at, and they're making recommendations to us one way or the other.
So these are just all renewals, the list that we have tonight.
I didn't see any recommendations on them, that's why I wondered.
There should be a sheet at the
There should
end.
be a
Oh,
sheet.
the sheet at the end, okay, I wasn't looking for that either, okay. Alright,
The ones I see on this list all say renew.
Yes, that's all we put forward this evening.
Okay, so we're gonna see something else?
So next week when you do the public hearing, then you'll be looking at all the applications in your packet. To review all the applications that the committee reviewed.
So the ones that were put forward are just the ones that passed the test, so to speak.
Right, the ones
They're
we
all
are
good.
recommending you
Yep.
renew, yeah.
Right.
okay, those are the ones that we have tonight, the ones
So
are.
the denials went to them also too, didn't they, Judy?
There is one has to be done separately, okay, and then the other one for the special request, you didn't know that was coming, but your recommendation is different than the member one,
Right.
the only ones.
Right.
Yeah.
But they'll have those for
They'll have all that documentation.
next week.
Yeah.
Okay, or next meeting.
So, where does it say that?
What's that?
Oh, this is a different one. Okay, when I,
Are you looking for the one that was recommended denial?
yeah, I just, yeah,
You want looking
yeah,
at the list or?
yeah, I've got the list here, but I didn't look at that because I thought we were going to be having to do the other thing first. before we did that.
Do they have the application yet or no?
No,
Not till next
no,
week.
because it was just to set the public hearing, we didn't want to go over the application to this meeting.
Okay.
Kathy, I think the confusion might be is because you were just setting the public hearing this evening, we didn't give you the applications to review.
Oh, okay, so I don't have them?
No.
Okay, that makes me feel one heck of a lot better, cause I'm looking at them. I didn't see them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Something else.
I'm like, oh God, I know I went through every page of this. Okay, that makes me feel better, thank you.
We'll be getting 35 applications next week.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Plenty of reading.
Plenty of reasons.
So the ones that we're putting on the list tonight, that's gonna be on the public hearing, those are all to be renewed. So we're not gonna have a list of the ones that you recommend denial at public hearing.
Not tonight.
What's the one, well, didn't you say that there's one
There's one special one.
Well,
special one that was recommended for denial?
What?
I thought that's what I heard, correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
Okay.
there's actually,
Executive session perhaps.
There's one that we should not discuss,
Okay,
and then there is one that has, two of them actually should not discuss.
alright. Okay. You know.
Which ones are they?
Discuss it separately though, correct?
We shouldn't.
they
Yes, in
they can
executive
discuss it
session,
in
Yeah.
executive session.
Okay.
And the only other thing was the criteria we used to come to our recommendations. That was,
Yeah,
I think that was
so-
submitted.
Because they'll have the the sheet with all our comments
have
too,
everything,
right?
yeah.
Cause there were comments on each one from the police, the fire and the code and planning, which we looked at. And honestly, a lot of them don't have site plans.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's just, and I guess it's possible that the property has a site plan, but the town doesn't have it. So there's a whole lot of confusion surrounding the site plans. So honestly, I don't think we did anything if the site plan didn't match. It's just, that was more informative than anything. We looked at office hours, open and close times, did it match what they were supposed to do, which planning told us. And then how they're maintaining their lodging records. So a few answered, no, they're not maintaining lodging records. And some said yes, but then not by state law. So those are some of the questions that we just have for some of them. And then we looked at smoke, carbon and gas detector maintenance, and so basic life safety. So if they didn't, I think there was one actually that said they didn't even have smoke detectors, which we suspect is false. But
Oh, okay, issue dash new.
That is one that we're still working with, we hope to have the owner in compliance by the time we actually go to public hearing on that one.
Okay.
That's a new one.
So we would establish the public hearings for all of these and then that night we would know.
and then you'll have a second public hearing
Yep.
for the rest of them.
Okay. All right. All right.
Because they're not going before all the departments until they actually pay their license fees.
Yep.
So that holds it up, because in the past, apparently they could get all approved and licenses issued, just they actually get the physical copy until they paid their fees. So there's some confusion with people that nothing's being moved forward until they pay at this point.
New system, that's to be expected a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we went from 3 to 20 questions.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other businesses had, I mean, anyone with a bar or a restaurant, you know, they had pages, a lot of pages,
Right.
so.
no, but it was a big change,
Yes,
so,
it was a big change.
And because it's the first time we had this application, we all thought the questions were logical. And then, we actually worked on it very hard, but then once people started filling out, including myself, I started filling out, I'm like, oh, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we'll have to make some changes going forward
Mhm.
on that.
So there are nine lodging facilities that have not applied yet for their renewal. And one is a new license, actually. I don't think they know that they're a new license yet. They didn't realize that they needed to. So there's one that way. They've, out of the 73, we have looked at 64.
Wow.
And 17 need to be notified for clarification on items on their license. And the rest you're receiving now.
That's good, because next year they'll know what that means and how that process works, so good. Yeah, I liked everything that you did and what you put forward and how you did the process, where there, so that everyone is informed at this, and then we get what everybody else knows, so I think that's good.
The committee's spending a significant amount of time going through every application, reviewing everything, putting a lot of thought into it, and being very diligent about the examination of each and every application, which is something that we haven't had the opportunity to do in the past, so
Right.
they're doing a fantastic
No,
job.
that's why this looks really, I think this is great.
Mm.
I mean,
We're also trying to get it so that you guys have pretty clear notes, so if something does come up, you're not blindsided with. Cause that
Right.
is also very difficult.
well, if something does come up, we have something to fall back on to look at what the history somewhat of what everything was. And that, through no fault of anybody, just we didn't do that in the past, so, you know, this helps a lot, I think.
Any questions of us on what we've done so far?
No, it's, I mean, not for me, that sounds pretty straightforward.
Did we, no, maybe I talked about, we have one on the agenda tonight, just one.
This is the one at Carriage House. We're
It's
trying
to
to
set
set
the
the,
public
to
hearing?
set the public hearing,
Yes. That will be just to set the public hearing as well.
that's all.
Separately from the other,
Mhm.
One last question, I guess. If we get the list and you make a recommendation before we do a public hearing to make sure everything is good, is the understanding that by the time, I know we've asked you several times, I just wanna make sure by the time if we do set the public hearing, and we should set the public hearing, the expectation is that particular problem will be cleared by then.
We're trying to get them cleared before it actually comes to you.
Oh, okay, before we even begin to set
Yes.
the, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So-
good. That's-
Any of the ones that we recommended a hold on pending more information will come to you for the second public hearing, along with those that have yet to apply or those that we haven't yet reviewed.
Okay, all right.
So I think the last public hearing will actually be at the beginning of May, right? We figured that out the last time, so, and then hopefully all of them will be
Will be done by
done
then.
at that point,
Okay,
so.
good. All right,
We did have one new license that we just waiting for a couple of manuals, but we put them on for the public hearing because we expect those to be done by the time the public hearing comes.
okay.
That seems easy enough anyway, a couple handrails. Great, any questions? Anything else from the board?
No,
Excellent.
thank you.
Oh, sounds
you very
good, we
much.
really appreciate all the hard
Yeah,
work that folks
really.
are doing. I know
Looks
it's
like you're
probably
very
pretty tedious and,
It's a great group.
yeah,
People told you that at the last, it really is a great group.
thankful to have
We're getting
everybody.
a lot done. So,
So you will come back with an updated application process.
we'll come back with updated application.
Recommendations,
And then I think the next set after we finish applications is to start looking at some of the 150 and 145 and make recommendations at that point too.
Excellent, great,
But we haven't really, the applications have just consumed us.
oh yeah, well, there's a lot of work to be done with it,
Yeah.
that's a fact.
Yeah.
A lot of moving parts, so,
Okay,
great,
Thank you.
well, thank you very much for coming
much.
out.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your hard work.
See you tomorrow.
Sorry, I'm just setting the public hearing, so it shouldn't be an issue tomorrow.
Posted for 5, so I assume, yeah. We can go to a break.
So the good news is that, we're up a pretty minimal amount of money. Over the last couple of years, we've tried to really keep an eye on, folks in the community that want a fixed income, knowing that inflation is what it is. And when we met with our building administration back in October, we made sure that we made a point of that. But at the same time, getting the kids everything that they need. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. When we met, we got our final number, we can go through the PowerPoint whenever, I don't know if you guys have it on TV or.
Mike, is that something we can get up on the?
Who's here to do it?
We got a computer too, I know we sent the power over to you guys, but
Yeah,
we
they
can go
should
through
have,
it.
they have it in your packets.
Yeah, so when, we met, in December, that our grand number was about $1.8 million. And I'm like, guys, we gotta scale back a little bit because we got a community that, electric has gone up and heat and, gasoline and everything has gone up, food, the whole 9 yards. So, we went back to the drawing board and we got that number down to a pretty good number that we'll talk about in a minute. But a couple important dates, the 7th of June, we've got our budget meeting in the junior high gym. And I would encourage folks to come if you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer those questions. And our referendum vote is on the 13th in the ward gym as well. Your next page, some historical reference. Our budgets since 2017-18, you're looking at, my goal has always been with the school committee to keep that number in the 3. And I think that's extremely important. One thing that we can control, we can control our CBAs, but we can't control health insurance, what that goes up every year. And we've been anywhere between, as you folks know, somewhere between 4 and 8%, based on our experience rating on what claims were settled, within a 3-year period for the district. So we still don't have that number, though we budgeted 5% in our budget, and I think that should carry it based on what our experience rating has been in the past. And if you look, we have been below that mark every single year. With a couple of those years, we brought back the budget to 0. Our next page, this is our cost items. There's 11 cost centers that we look at as a district, and you can see them below the orange line. Above it is your unassigned balance that we're gonna apply the $721,000 plus. That is the increase for the proposed budget. So we're gonna buy that K-12 budget back down to 0. So it will be a net 0 increase for the CSD portion of it. And we can get into the adult ed piece of it next. But miscellaneous revenue, we probably got somewhere between 20 and 30,000 coming in every year. That comes in from gate money, facility usage, and things like that. State subsidy, we actually received a little bit more state subsidy this year because our enrollment's up about 32 kids. So that helps a little bit. And then last but not least, our assessment, the portion is $695,000. Looking below the orange line, you can see every one of the cost centers where it went up. 80% of our budget is driven by the CBA with salaries and benefits. And the rest is, special ed costs that's associated with school.
Recently, there was a thing about the state had miscalculated the subsidies. Are you getting any more or no?
No, what's funny? Well, it's not funny, but we're a minimal receiver, in Wells, and the good news about being a minimal receiver is that when we had times like back in 2008, 2009, when a lot of districts were taking it on the chin, we didn't lose all that much because we're a minimal receiver. The bad news about being the minimal receiver is when there's any increases, we very seldomly get any of those monies. The only hope that we have is when we have an enrollment that goes up. As you can see that we received a little bit more. I mean, 71,000 is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of a $30 million budget, it's not so much. So yeah, we the good news, we didn't lose any. The bad news is we didn't gain any as well. Looking at our next page, key drivers we just talked about. Salaries are up 745,000, and that's a CBA. We're into the CBA. We just signed a new agreement. We're into that till 2026. Health insurance and benefits, we're up about 314,000. Now that number could change, but it's not going to impact our budget at all because we budgeted for it. We're hoping that it comes in a little bit below that 5%. but I think it's gonna be right in that ballpark. Our transportation costs have gone up. We signed a 5% contract with Ledgmere. The good news is that next year is really gonna be that watermark year that we have 11 electric school buses. So we really don't know what the net savings is gonna be from that. But in year 2, 3, or 4, we can go back to the drawing board and hopefully recapture some of those funds that, diesel would cost. But it's all gonna be balanced out by, as you know, electric costs, which has gone up exponentially for all of us,
Are you
We're
guys-
gonna start burning furniture at the Daily House, just to keep us in the black.
Are you guys looking at doing any kind of solar array for the charging stations?
The good news is that because it's contracted out, that's something Ledgermere's looking at, but they're looking at every possible way to save on that, because, you take on, it's great for the environment, but you're getting rid of one cost in diesel, but you're kind of capturing it back with electric. And I think right now the electric's unknown. I know you read an article in today's Portland Press Herald, and they talked about even CMP might go up because of all the solar farms that are out there. They thought there was gonna be a savings in one category, but it turns out it's cost of doing business a little bit more. So, I think we're in the beginning stages of that, and I'm hoping that by year 3, we see some type of, savings coming back to the district and the tax payers as well as Enneagun, But right now, it's so new that, who knows? I'm hoping. And then last but not least, debt service. Finally, we paid our last bond payment for the elementary school, 20 years, so that's good news. And, if you've been in any 3 of our buildings, we're in so much better shape than we were 10, 15 years ago. Every single building we upkeep, we make sure that we pump capital improvements into it, that we never get in a situation where we were with the old high school, where it kind of went and, by the time it was time to do something about it, it was too much. So knock wood, we're in pretty good shape with that.
You see any major projects?
Yeah, you know what, we're looking at one down the pike, it's probably a year or 2 away. I think as folks in the community, especially that have young kids, there's no field space. We have nothing, right, town-wise, and we're always not fighting, but trying to get, our kids on the fields. I think down the road, we really gotta look at a turf project for like Forbes Field, not the football field, but Forbes Field, so they can play lacrosse and they can play field hockey. And you can get rec in there, and you can get everybody without wearing out the field. The good news is this, we're not gonna go out to bond, because we've got some capital improvements money that we've saved over the years, and we've got some carryover monies. We would have been in a much better position if the pandemic never happened, because we had funds, but we had to use money that we never anticipated using those monies before. So I'm waiting a year or so. I was really gonna do it this year, but with inflation and everything else, I didn't know where our budget would be. And I was really afraid of going to the both towns at like a $1.8 or $1.9 million increase. So to keep that money, that number down, I wanted to buy back that budget at $721,000. So I think we're gonna be in a better shape come July or August, and we'll know more of where we're at. But that's our plan, to make sure we've taken care of all of the big projects on the school, with the exception of the sign at the elementary school that we're looking at. But other than that, I think we're in good shape, but we still have a problem with the fields. Our kids are out there right now, the spring's the worst time to play because it's muddy, and, we go from the freeze to the mud, and then it seems like we don't get out of that until about July. So a turf field would be a great community field for our communities,
Are there
and no
any grants
cost.
available for that?
What's that?
Any grants available for that?
We look at, a lot of those grants evaporated
Yeah.
right after the pandemic. So we'll look at that, but just based on experience, there, especially in our financial position, if we were a poorer school system and community, maybe so. But being that we're a minimal receiver, is just like school projects, there's only so much to go around, and it never gets its way to, communities like ours.
Now by turf, you mean AstroTurf?
Yeah, you know what, we would go to a turf, away from recycled tires, Kenny Bunk just put one in, and there was some health concerns. They went to the brand new tire, or rubber synthetic, that doesn't create all the carcinogens that they've seen in the recycled tire.
Another thing to keep in mind too, I read recently, we've done some installs, so I watch it, is the PFAS content in some of the AstroTurfs too. So we'll just keep an eye on that
Yeah,
one.
that's what we're looking at. So they're evolving all the time. And they've got a product now that is supposed to be 100% green and healthy in the whole 9 yards, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. You know, we really were gonna do something in the fall time, but the economy kind of flipped pretty hard on us, so, you know, and our utilities, our electric went up with, you know, doing nothing extra, $145,000. You know, plus, you know, we got our natural gas in 10 years ago, we thought we were in great shape, we saved some money, but as you know, natural gas has gone up too, so, you know, we're cognitive of all of that stuff, you know, we wanna make sure we're doing right by the community, but we do know there is a huge need for our kids to have a field to play. You know, that's safe, that, you know, every year it seems like we're resodding, you know, over the summer, so the kids really can't get on the field during July and August, cause it's the only time that it can recover. And by the time that, you know, our kids can get on it, you know, it's September. And then before you know it, all the grass that we just planted's gone, and now you've got holes in the hole, you know, Coach, you know, you've seen it. So that's where we're at, and that's our plan, but we got a ways to go. But I think we're in good shape, and the good news is we won't have to go out to bond. So it won't cost the taxpayers of Wells or Guncourt any extra money, and they'll have a great field for years to come, you know. If you look at our FY '24 budget summary, you know, you can look at where we're at, 29,721,000 and change. You know, last year's budget was 28,999,000 and change. Our net increase to the budget is 721,000. We're gonna take our carryover money from the fund balance, apply it to that amount, so the net increase for our budget will be 0. And then the calculations, you know, we're looking at, you know, if you look at, remember, even though we're a net 0 increase, valuation still went up. You know, it's kind of a tough thing to understand sometimes, that even though our number hasn't gone up, the valuation of property's gone up. And, you know, I think Wells in the state of Maine is 2. And I think Biddeford was the only town that went up higher than Wells in valuation, which is good for everybody that lives in their homes in the whole 9 yards. The bad part about it is when your valuation goes up, your taxes go up as well. So you know, we're looking at 14 cents for the general fund K-12, and then an additional 6 cents for adult ed. And we're looking at $100 a year for a $500,000 home in Wells. So, you know, like I always like to tell our school committee, the best thing that we can do is control our increases. You know, the mill rate and the valuation is really out of our control. But, you know, keeping it at a conservative number for citizens and the community members is extremely important to us. So that's all I have for my presentation. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Great job.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
No, it's always so great to have you here when we know in years past that didn't happen. And now everybody gets a chance, so people can hear it or they can see it, and we get to understand it too, so.
I appreciate you guys having us, and I need to point out a couple of things. Number one, the support you guys give is tremendous. You know, whether it's Joanne, anytime we have an incident come up, you know, when we had the power outages, Joanne made sure she called up, you know, let me know the update, so I can make a decision on whether or not we can have school or not. So, you know, the SROs in the school are doing a tremendous job, and anytime I need help, you know, I contact the folks up here, and you guys are right on, you know, right on the scene, and we appreciate that. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you very much on behalf of the school department.
Well, thank you. So it's a particular point of pride, I think, for everybody in the community, the schools, and you certainly do a great job, you and your whole administration and your board. And as a parent whose child's gonna be going into kindergarten this coming year, I feel very good that, you know, you guys are heading things up, so.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we take our show on the road, we go to a Guncourt now, so, you know, they're not as friendly as the friendliest town in Maine, so. I'm only kidding, of course, no doubt, I'm only kidding.
Well,
Hey guys, thank you very much.
thank you again.
You got it, take care.
Take good care.
Too. All right, well,
Take care, guys. Good seeing you, take care.
good seeing you, thank you. Well, we have some time between now and 5:30, executive session. So we'll take a pause, yep, break.
The director from the